Welcome to another video from Graylow 60. Today we're going to be talking about how do you meet and marry a Chinese girl. I'm sure there's lots of the people that watch this channel that are sort of curious about that. Well, I'm going to go through the steps that I guess I went through to meet and marry a Chinese girl. Okay, well, the first thing you do is you have to find one. Okay, now how do you do that? Well, you know, I sort of got lucky. I went on the internet one day while I was supposed to be working and my boss wasn't around, and I checked out some sites. I checked out some of these pay for, I don't know, Cupid sites and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed a little superficial to me. So what I did is I looked for obscure web pages, and I came across one just by chance. And I think there was like 10 or 15 girls listed on there. So I thought, oh, and it was free, and there was an email address. So I thought, oh, this one's pretty. So I figured, okay, I'll email her. Day later I got an email back in English. I wasn't expecting that. Anyway, so one thing led to another, so corresponded for maybe about 6 months, and then I thought, well, it's time to go meet this young lady. So I did, and maybe I'll put some of the pictures that she used to as bait. Yeah, let's call it bait, because she was like fishing for a foreigner just like me, and she used the pictures as bait. That's yeah, like I'm just like a fish. Anyway, so I figured, okay, well, I'm gonna go over and visit. And I was going to go over and visit, I think it was June or July of 2003. And because my wife comes from a fairly superstitious family, oh, the number 8 is lucky. So August, she says, oh, you can't come till August 1st. Okay, I didn't come till August 1st. But on August 1st, I landed in Nanning, China at the airport, and I met my new wife-to-be. Well, at that point, I was just playing more than anything else. I didn't think anything was really going to come of it. So that's good. So, as I say, we meet at the airport, and she helps me get a hotel room and all that other stuff, and one thing led to another, and we ended up in Beijing at the Canadian Embassy. So that's all good and fine, but for a Chinese person to get a visa to go to Canada is a tough one, you know, like it's like a 1 in a million shot. My brother's an immigration officer back in those days, and he said, well, you can give it a try, but I don't think you're going to be very, very successful in this. Anyway, lo and behold, we actually did get the visa, and 2 weeks later my wife-to-be was sitting with me in Canada. All right, so that's fine. So she's got I don't know what it was. We asked for a 3-week visa, but when you come to Canada, they stamp you for, I think, 3 months, 90 days. So during that 90-day time period, well, actually, we met on August 1st of 2003. She landed in Canada on her visitor visa August 14th of 2003. And oh, how do we get the visa? Well, we devised a plan that we were thinking about getting married, and we decided that she should come over because she's from southern China where it's warm all the time, and I'm from northern Canada where it's cold pretty well all the time. That she should come over and visit, meet my family, my friends, see if she likes it there before we jump in with both feet and get married. Well, so the hook, line, and sinker, the immigration officer just bit on that one right away, which was sort of nice. Okay, so as I say, we got a visa for her, and then they stamped her for 90 days. Well, August 29th we got married, so we'd known each other for 29 days, and the marriage bells were ringing in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, of all places. Okay, well, that's great. So we extended her visa for 2 years. We put in a spousal application where they couldn't make her leave Canada until a decision had been made on that permanent resident application, spousal permanent resident application. Well, and that took, I don't know, about 9-10 months in Canada. But you see, she was in Canada, so that was okay. But she wasn't allowed to work because she was on a visitor visa, and she wanted to go to work, she wanted to do this, she wanted to do that. So I said, well, okay, well, let's go to the Multicultural Center and you can go to English classes. Well, this is for immigrants and refugees and you know, economic immigrants and refugees. Well, she was on a visitor visa, so she was there about 2.5 weeks before a representative from CIC booted her out of class. So then she wasn't allowed to go back to school, so she was bored for the first 8-9 months. But after 8-9 months, she got her permanent residence, and it's been all downhill after that. It's you know, she got her Canadian citizenship, and you know, everything worked out. I have known a number of people that have come over and met Chinese girls. If you don't meet the right one, I got lucky. I have to admit, like the chances of getting screwed over or being taken advantage of or whatever were pretty high. I just, as I say, I just got lucky. But I've known people that have bought their girlfriend or their wife a house, and the next day they want a divorce because the house is under their name, under the girl's name. You know, I've met guys that have been married to more than one Chinese girl, and you know, didn't work this time, but maybe it'll work next time. Well, kudos to them for you know, stepping up to the plate after swinging 3.5 times. You know, you're out. Anyway, so you really have to watch yourself in any country when you're meeting a stranger, that they're not there to take advantage of you. And I know that maybe older folk, older guys that have had a relationship in Canada where their wife has left them, their wife died, whatever, and then they come to a place like China and expect the same cultural thinking and how things actually are. It's not like that. You know, a marriage to a Chinese girl is more like a business arrangement, and especially the first part. See, my wife and I talked about this, you know, over the years, and I said, well, what happened if it? What would have happened if it didn't work out? She says, I had a visitor visa and a round trip ticket to Canada, so it's just like, it would be just like a free vacation. So she took it, you know, and that's a good way to look at it. You know, I looked at it the same way, where, you know, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you know, and I think we both went into it with our eyes a little bit open, and after a couple of years, we sort of grew on each other, and now we're inseparable. So it worked out for me. But you know, the first thing to do if you want to meet a Chinese girl is to I guess find one, and the internet is probably the best way. Another way is to actually come to China and sort of hang out here for a while. If you hang out in a place like Nanning, chances are you're going to meet foreigners, and you're going to meet girls will come up to you, guaranteed. If you're a foreigner, girls will come up to you and want to talk to you, and you know, it's not that hard meeting people if you're willing to engage them. You know, you can't expect everybody to come up and talk to you. If you go and talk to them, well, you're special. They want to talk to you, but they're shy. So one of the things that you have to do in China to meet a girl is to be outgoing. They don't like it if you're shy. They like it if you're confident. So if the more confidence you have or show, the better chance of meeting a Chinese girl. Another thing we should talk about is, you know, meeting and marrying a Chinese girl isn't just about you getting married and having a wife. Each of these Chinese girls have things on their mind too, things that you know, it's not just about you, it's about them too. Whether they have a family that is poor, whether they want to move out of China, whether they want to get married and have a child. You know, there's 1,001 different reasons why a Chinese girl wants to get married, and most of it has to do with a better life. So if you come over here just thinking, I'm going to find myself a Chinese girl and get married and take her back to my country, and that's it, that's not going to happen, because chances are she's going to have family that needs help. It's going to cost you one way or the other, you're paying, you know. So you have to discuss that with your wife to be before you get married, because you don't want to get into a position where, oh, we got married, now I find out that she wants me to buy mom and dad a house. Now she wants me to send money to mom and dad because they're poor. Now she wants me to help the brother, and geez, that sounds like my life. But you see, I knew all of this before I started, so it wasn't a big surprise to me. So, you know, when you're thinking about marrying a Chinese girl, think about her. Not just about yourself. It's the only way it's going to work out. And sometimes what they want is maybe more than you're willing to give. That doesn't mean that it's not going to work out. It just means that maybe you got to reel her in a bit. You're saying, okay, well, this is okay, but this isn't. You know, so being honest right off the bat with a Chinese girl, because she will be honest with you if you're honest with her. That said, there is that element out there, and you run across them all the time, you know, and I know Westerners that have run across them too, where they're there to take advantage. They use their good looks and their youth to take advantage of older people. Older guys, you know, the guys get stars in their eyes, and they don't think, and you know, ends up costing them a lot of money. You know, you marry a girl, you buy a house, you get bank accounts and all of this stuff, and chances are the house is under her name, until just lately, where a foreigner can actually own a house in China. You can just go buy one and put it under your name, but before it had to be under the Chinese person's name. So yes, the girlfriend or the wife, bang, she's got it over on you. And if she's one of these girls that is just a user, one of these people that is just in it to take advantage, well, as soon as you buy that house, you're pooched. You're out the door the next day, and that's that, and the game is over type thing. And then she moves on to another one. There's girls over here that make a living like that. So you have to beware, I'm telling you. One of the better ways of meeting a Chinese girl is to have friends in China that, you know, that have been around for a while. Chances are they know lots of single women that, you know, are wanting to get married. That's another thing. If you're 70 years old and you're looking to get married to a 25 to 35-year-old girl, that's not going to work. There's not only a cultural difference, a language difference, but there's 2 generations of age difference there. And you know, if there's one generation and no language difference, it's tough. But you get all 3 combined, and it's just not going to happen. I find that most of the marriages that I see that are long-lasting in China are the husband is maybe 10 years older than the wife, and that seems to be about normal here in China. But if you're looking for a real young one, and you expect to be married and everything to work out peachy keen, it's not going to happen. I'll guarantee you that, because that young girl, she's not in it for love. If she's going to marry a 70-year-old guy, she's in it for the cash. So if that's the type of relationship you want, well, go for it. We should talk about immigration a little bit. You know, getting your wife back to your own country. Okay, well, you know, this should probably be a video on its own, because there's so much involved. So I'll just give you the Reader's Digest version, I guess, of the immigration. Correspondence. If you give your wife money, there's always got to be receipts. text messages, keep your airplane tickets so you can prove that you've gone back and forth. If you're at a hotel in her hometown, keep the receipts from the hotel so it shows that you've been there. If you meet, or when you meet her friends, family, everything, you've got to know her friends' names, her family's name, what they do for a living, where they live, what does your wife's, what's your dad's, your wife's dad's name, what's his brother's name, where did he come from, you know, all of these things. And she's got to know the same thing about your family. You see, the more information that you can give an immigration officer in your application for permanent residence to either France, Canada, the United States, Australia, it doesn't matter. And you know, sending $20 to your wife every month, that's not going to cut it. You know, if you're living in say Australia, and you're making 4,000 Australian dollars or 5,000 Australian dollars a month, and you send your wife a couple hundred Australian dollars a month, what does that show about your quality of life and her quality of life? You know, it may be different if she's working and you can prove that she's got enough money to live, but you got to understand that an immigration officer is going to take a look at you and say, so you live like a king and you make your wife live like a dog. Well, geez, there's no love there. Not a legitimate relationship. Cancel this application. You refuse. You know, and that's a big thing here in the immigration world, dealing with Chinese people, because if you've ever watched my video about how the rest of the world discriminates against Chinese, immigration officers are probably one of the worst that you're going to deal with, discriminating against Chinese, just for the fact that there's so many of them. If you let in everybody that wants to be let into the country, they'll all move there. Another thing when dealing with the immigration is hire a professional. Don't do it on your own. Immigration applications are very, very difficult. There's lots of information, and the information has to be impeccable. How do they put that? There's inconsistencies in this application. Okay, I've been working on my brother-in-law's wife's application for going on 4 years now, and I'm a professional. I know exactly what I'm doing. And a refusal at an interview in Hong Kong because they didn't know the dates. Alternative dispute resolution in Vancouver. Oh, there's inconsistencies in your testimony. Well, you know, the relationship's going on 6 years now, and you can't remember every little thing. So we're going into an actual Immigration Appeal Division hearing this summer, and I have no doubt that will be successful, because it's a legitimate relationship, and you know, they're married and she's been living with us for a while. But you can see where if you don't have a professional to deal with this stuff, the immigration officers will just roll right over top of you. So spend a couple extra $1,000 and do it right. Make sure that you send your wife money. Make sure that your wife has as good of living in China while you're processing the application as you do in your own country. You know, there's so many things. As I say, this is a Reader's Digest version of the immigration part of it. So maybe I'll make a video that really tells the in-depth about an immigration application to, say, Canada, Australia, United States, and they're all pretty well similar type thing, eh? And that's another video from Guilao 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. How to meet a girl in China.